Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. For those of you new here, I'm Sneha, and today I'm going to be talking all about the new Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Bronzers. So if you'd like to see the application of two shades medium and tan, and also a review on these products, please continue watching. I ended up with two shades because I picked up the shade tan first when it was on pre-sale, and I didn't have information on what shade I should pick up for my foundation reference. But later, once I had already placed the order for tan, I saw online as the reviews were coming on that they do have shade recommendations on their website. So then I went back and ordered the shade medium, which is meant for up to, I believe, 8 or 8.5 warm in their foundations, which is definitely the range that I fall in. Now, Charlotte Tilbury always kills it with the packaging. This is what the outer case looks like. But forget this, look at this stunning masterpiece. I absolutely love the packaging. This is beautiful. It's like a nice egg clam shell and it has a magnetic closure unlike the airbrush powder. Can you hear that if I close that? It's really nice. Secondly, I love that it is refillable. So you have this little notch right here at the top where you can push the pan out, and she will be coming out with refills in the next few months, and that'll be significantly cheaper than buying the entire bronzer with the packaging. So I absolutely love that. I think all brands should head that way. So 10 on 10 for packaging and for the refillable aspect of this product. The product inside is massive. You get 16 grams of bronzer in here, and it retails for £39 here in the UK. But for those of you who are professional makeup artists, definitely make use of the pro discount. We get 30 to 35% off, which is fantastic. So the bronzer claims to have hyaluronic acid in it, and I don't think it's meant to have skincare benefits. It's more for the powder to be non-drying. So say, for example, you've used the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush powders. You know how this one doesn't look dry and cakey on the skin like, say, for example, a Laura Mercier translucent powder, for example. That can, especially if you don't prep the skin correctly, can look a bit drying on the skin. So I think the hyaluronic acid in the bronzer is meant to give it a more non-drying appearance, if that makes sense. Secondly, it also has a lot of smoothing polymers. I'll post her ingredients list right here. You can see all the ingredients are pretty safe. The maximum score one of these ingredients have for this particular bronzer is only 3, which is good, which means there's nothing funky going on with the product and it's fairly safe to use. The bronzer also claims to be pore blurring and supposed to be silky soft, and it definitely feels like that to touch. Definitely silky anyway. As far as pore blurring, the powder definitely does that. So I think the bronzers, which are also based on the powders, probably also have that, just that you don't see it because you don't typically apply bronzer into areas where you have enlarged pores. But say if you have a lot of texture, especially on your cheek area, this might be a good product for you compared to a traditional bronzer. So again, if I haven't mentioned before, this shade runs from 5 to 8.5 warm, and the shade tan is meant for shades 9 to 12.5 warm in the airbrush foundation range. But this is how both of them look against my skin tone. Let's look at some comparisons now. So I'm going to compare these two shades with the other bronzers that I typically use. So as you can see, the Charlotte Tilbury shade medium is more close to the shades that I typically use and prefer for a bronzer compared to the shade tan. So I'm definitely going to stick to the shade medium for myself. Next, let's move on to the demo with the two bronzer shades. For my skin tone, they recommend medium, but I purchased the tan in the pre-sale period, so I didn't know what shades to pick. There seems to be a big jump between these two shades. Ideally, I would have liked something in between. But let's start with the lighter shade and see how we get along, and then do a little bit of application with this and see how that looks on my skin tone. For reference, I'm between 7.5 neutral and 8 warm in their foundation, generally an 8. So I've already done my makeup except for bronzer or contour. I've not done any bronzing. So all the products that I have except for my eyeshadow are by Charlotte Tilbury, and I'll link everything in the description box below. And I've set my face with the Airbrush Flawless Finish Powder in the shade medium. And that's one of my favorite powders. I have hit pan and I have a little bit remaining. So that's what I have on my face. I'm going to apply both the bronzers with the Charlotte Tilbury brush. This is their powder and sculpt brush. And this is what it looks like. So starting with the shade medium, I think I'm going to apply it on this half of my face. Starting with the forehead. You can see the bronzer gradually building up on this half of my forehead. And it is quite a subtle color, which is what I personally prefer. There you go, it's blending in beautifully. I'm going to add a little bit more to my forehead. Also add some here. I'll also try contouring my nose a little bit with this. I'm going to switch to a smaller brush, which is what I generally use. The shade medium is definitely showing up on my skin tone, so if I come closer, you can see the bronzed portions compared to this half, which does not have any bronzer. On my nose as well, you can see that the shade medium is showing up quite nicely. I think the shade tan might be too much, so on my nose anyway, I'm just going to continue with medium. Okay, so that's what medium looks like. I'm very happy with that color. And I'm almost scared to apply the tan shade, but I just want to show you just in case you're around my skin tone, or if you're lighter or darker, then you can get a gauge of what color you should pick. I'm going to use the same brush, but I'm just going to tap lightly on the surface of the bronzer just because it's such a dark color. And then let's apply it on this half. So medium on this half of my face, and then tan on this half of my face. So I feel like I could go with either of these shades depending on how much color I would want on that day. But in general, I do prefer the more subtle bronze because I can always layer it up if I want to. Whereas this one, if I go with a different brush or a heavy hand, it can be disastrous. So if you're around my skin tone, I would definitely recommend picking up the shade medium. So in conclusion, I would highly recommend picking up this bronzer if you are in the market for a new bronzer. I love the refillable aspect of it, how much product you get, so it's good value for money, and also the smooth texture of the powder. As you've seen from the demo, even though I've used a significantly darker shade on the right side of my face, just being light-handed and being careful with how much you apply, and also because of the blendability of the powder, I think you can't really tell that I have two different shades on the two halves of my face. So that again speaks very highly of the bronzer itself. So definitely a big stamp of approval from me. If you have any specific questions about this bronzer, definitely leave it in the comment section below and I'll try and answer as much as possible. But I do hope that the demo and the review was useful to you guys. If you enjoyed it, definitely don't forget to hit that like button and also consider subscribing. By the way, let me know if you are interested in a full face of Charlotte Tilbury products or a best and worst of Charlotte Tilbury products. If any of these videos interest you, definitely leave it in the comment section below. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!